please welcome Niels Pflaeging. Niels, the floor is yours.
Much. Thank you for having me. This summit is about trust, and that's, I think, a good starting point for a little talk like this. For the next half hour, I would suggest the following principle to you, which is, do not believe in anything that I say. I'm a management consultant. Never believe in management consultants. Do not believe in anything that I say. We don't have to agree. I mean, when we leave the room for the next coffee break, you might say that everything I said was bullshit. Also, we don't have to agree. Don't believe in anything that I say. I'm not trying to convince you. Who in the room has ever tried to convince, or who in the room has ever convinced another person? Raise your hand if you think that you ever convinced another person. That's a highly unethical thing to do. Convincing another person, I think, is highly unethical, because ultimately the only person who can convince somebody is that person. So I suggest I will not try to convince you. Of course, I believe in what I will be saying, but you don't have to believe it. Let's start this. As you all agreed that we need organizational innovation, let me start with this first hypothesis here. This is what we see here is a metaphor, an image for a social technology that you all probably apply. It is called management. Management is a social technology that was born in the industrial age, popularized in the industrial age. It is infesting organizations today. I will try to prove that to you. Don't believe in anything that I say, but I will try to show you, prove to you that organizations are infested by this social technology called management that has around 40 years ago already, it became a zombie technology. Management is a zombie technology, an undead social technology from the industrial age that sits in almost all organizations everywhere in the world, even hospitals, schools, and so on. So management, let's first talk about let's think about the essence of management. There's one key idea that management, the social technology, brought to organizations about 100 years ago. When management, the social technology, was invented by Frederick Taylor and other peers of the early industrial age, or the height of the industrial age, around 100 years ago, Frederick Taylor provided a very specific idea to this kind of operating systems for organizations. And this is if you only take this away, this is enough for me already. By the way, do your organizations have org charts? I know that at Capgemini there are org charts, at Sogeti all your organizations have org charts, right? Okay. There's a key idea behind it. Do you see it? To liberate the bottom of the pyramid of the Frederick Taylor said, if you want to make the industrial age organization more efficient, and efficiency was everything in the industrial age, you have to liberate the doers, the workers, from the thinking. That is the beautiful idea of management, the social technology, to divide the organizations between thinkers at the top and doers at the bottom, and the thinkers, managers like you, steer the organization from the top down. Yeah? You have no thinking at the bottom of the pyramid, ideally, said Frederick Taylor, because there is one best way to do things. We should prescribe it and tell people what to do, steer the work from the top down. Yeah? So management, the social technology. Don't believe in anything that I say, but this is true. Management, the social technology, is all about steering an organization like a machine from the top down. We are very much used to this. Our vocabulary is totally, I mean, if we talk about rolling out things or kicking off things or breaking down targets, all that relates to the pyramid image, to the command and control image of organizations, which was invented 100 years ago. It worked perfectly well then about 40 years ago, around 40 years ago in the 1970s. Something dramatic happened. Management, the social technology, had become very, very popular. Every organization in the world almost uses it, but then it died. In the 1970s, management, the social technology, was killed by this. Not a girl with an umbrella. This is, again, just a metaphor. Complexity came along and killed management, the social technology. Now, this complexity is like the weather. That's why I'm using this metaphor, just so that we don't create misunderstandings here. Complexity is neither good nor bad, just like the weather. If you have ever complained about the weather, have you? I did. No? Well, we did, right? Most of us did. Did the weather care? No. It's the same with complexity. Complexity it's a fact. It is neither good nor bad. It is just bad not to be prepared for it. Just like the weather. Complexity is neither good nor bad. Complexity came along and killed management of social technology. To understand that, we must first discuss an important distinction, or understand an important distinction. Today, a couple of speakers here already messed this distinction up and spoke incredibly wrong things about complexity. Complexity here, for this half hour, I suggest we call the complex the red. Is that okay? The red is a metaphor for complexity. Yeah? You see here a red system or a red phenomenon, a girl, a human being. That's a metaphor for a complex system. Now, to really, really understand complexity, we must distinguish or divide it from the blue. This is not about good or bad, it's about a crucial difference to understand the inner workings of organizations, okay? So we have red phenomena in organizations. Red phenomena are alive, the interactions between the parts may change and so on. And there are blue phenomena which are not complex, but complicated. The blue is the complicated. To understand complexity truly, we must distinguish the red, the complex, from the blue, the complicated. I will give you an example of a blue thing or problem or system. This is a blue thing. Complicated. A watch. I've got a watch here. It is complicated. Complicated systems can be steered and controlled from the outside. Don't believe in anything that I say, but this is basic, very basic. You can believe in this, what I'm, very basic, very, very fundamental. You don't have to believe, but you might. This is a complicated system. It can be controlled and steered from the outside. Any car, any plane, any software, any computer is complicated, right? Yes. Every machine in the world is complicated. Now, complicated problems, or first, complicated systems, they are exact, precise, logical. You can forecast and predict the behavior of a complicated system. If you cannot predict the behavior of this system, what kind of state is it in? In German, I'm a German, in German we say kaputt. Huh? The complicated thing, it is always dead. A watch is dead, a software is dead, but if it can be broken, but that's it. Yeah? Complicated systems is exact, precise, reliable, like softwares or machines should be, yeah? Or they are kaputt. Yeah? Now, you can solve complicated problems with rules, or you can steer complicated systems with rules, plans, programs. If you find complicated systems in the world of work, you can find rules, processes, define algorithms, and automatize this stuff. Yeah. In the realm of the red, things are entirely different. An example for, my preferred example for something red is honey. Do you have honey at home? It might be any kind of honey. I mean, he or she or kids, might call them honey, yeah? Loved ones, as the Americans say. So think of honey. He or she is not complicated. Even if we say so. Honey, you are so complicated. Have you ever said that? I occasionally said that in my first marriage. Yeah? Honey, you are so complicated. Scientifically, that's just bullshit. Honey is not complicated. Honey is only complicated if he or she is in the fridge. Just so that it sticks with you as a bad joke, Honey is alive. I mean, red systems, they are alive, not necessarily in a biological sense. The weather is alive. The flame of a candle is alive, not in a biological sense, but it is alive. Of course, markets, clients, customers, teams, organizations, systems, politics, those are red systems. The watch, a plane, a car, blue systems, living, and especially social systems, lots of red. Yeah? Now, in work, well, maybe stick with the red. In the realm of the blue, how do we solve problems? What do you think? If at work we encounter a blue problem, what do we need to solve it? The complicated means that I don't quite understand it. I cannot figure it out. I do not know how to put a watch together. I went to IKEA and bought a piece of furniture, and I do not know how to put it together. Blue problems, complicated problems, can be solved with knowledge. Okay? Supply knowledge, and you can solve complicated problems. Complicated problems, once you understand them, they become simple or trivial, like putting a watch together. Repairing a car, complicated stuff. For the expert, the complicated isn't complicated, it is trivial or simple or easy. Now, honey or red systems on the other side never become simple. Yeah? Because red systems, this is crucial, red systems produce complex systems, produce, very simple word, they produce a phenomenon that bothers us. Red phenomena, red systems produce surprise. Red systems surprise us. And red problems can only be solved. Surprising new problems in the world can only be they cannot be solved with algorithms, processes, or rules. To solve a red problem, we need something horrible, but we have it in organizations. What do we need to solve a red problem in an organization or at work? What kind of thing can solve a new problem? And what do you need? What is the stuff that you need? Experience? Yes. Let's make it simpler, more scientific. Innovation, let's talk about it in simpler terms, simpler. New problem, what do you need? It's very simple. Yes, you need innovation. Okay, but where does it come from? Where does fucking innovation come from? Creativity. And what has creativity? People with ideas. To solve red problems, don't believe in anything that I say, but this is true. To solve red problems, you need people with ideas. In the realm of the blue, you can solve problems with algorithms, rules, processes. You can automatize them away. Red problems can only be confronted by people with ideas. People without ideas are not enough. We call people with ideas, we call them, yes? Was that? Okay. We call people with ideas, we call them people with mastery. Yeah? So red problems, we need people with ideas. Yeah? That's why educating kids requires ideas, for example. If you have two kids, and is it better to treat them equally or differently? Huh? Differently. They must be, because they are different, so we should treat them differently. You might have 12 kids, you should treat, of course we are sometimes, we don't think hard enough about the problem. We try to treat them the same, over and over, the same, different kids the same way. That is sometimes what teachers do, and it's a crime. If adults do it with their kids, it's also a crime. Because, of course, every human being, every kid is a problem, a red system, not a red problem, of course. What does this have to do with organizations, with command and control and management of technology invented by Frederick Taylor? Here's a fun fact. If we look back at the times before Frederick Taylor in an organization, you would have blue problems and red problems. A craftsman here in Amsterdam, a workshop company, a manufacturing company. Usually they weren't so big, some were global, but those were really, really exceptional organizations. The most common company was very small, workshop-like, crafts manufacturing-like. What kind of problems did these people encounter in their work? Did they encounter more blue problems, standardizable, repeatable? Or did they encounter more surprising red problems, alive problems? And they had to come up with ideas. The answer may surprise you, but there's a logic to it. Trust in me for a second. Around 200, 300 years ago, before the industrial age, a crafts manufacturing company, a workshop company, they confronted a lot of red problems. I'll give you an example. The craftsman here producing violins in Amsterdam, or famous or non-famous painter in Amsterdam, had to wait for the customer to take the order, and then he or she could customize the product on demand. There was no standardization, there was no mass markets. Markets were like this here on the top, very fragmented, very local. You had to wait for the client and then customize the product. You had to come up with ideas to serve the individual client. That was neither good nor bad, but all of this changed in the industrial age. There was a lot of talk, I think, at this conference already about the industrial age. And something really, really crucial happened to work. For the first time in human history, strongly, massively exploding, expanding mass markets started to exist. And in these mass markets, with just a few competitors here, as you see, an oligopoly, or sometimes you even had a monopoly, just one competitor in the market. Those were the good days. In these new, massively expanding, vast mass markets of the industrial age, you could actually we were capable of driving out complexity of value creation and work and reduce complexity to a minimum. We could standardize. All what we know today about things having the same height, the same sizes, standardized sizes and standardized processes. All this was created in the industrial age. Because before the industrial age, we didn't have the need to mass produce. We didn't have the markets to mass produce. All that happened in the industrial age. In the industrial age, we encountered Frederick Taylor or Henry Ford. They encountered production processes that were extremely repetitive, and it was a new problem for them to solve, because the craftsmen cared about individualization and not standardization. So people like Frederick Taylor, they invented management to solve a crucial problem: how to mass produce for these blue, vast, dull, slow-moving mass markets in the industrial age. And they invented the perfect system for it: command and control. Drive the thinking out of the organization. Standardize, standardize, standardize. Improve a little bit, tweak it a little bit, but take the surprise out. Yeah? This is neither good nor bad. This is a historical fact. Some in the United States, they would say it's a hysterical fact. No, it's a historical fact. Yeah? It's neither good nor bad. This happened. In the industrial age, we call this phenomenon here the Taylor bathtub, because Taylorism fits right into this here. Wide, spacious mass markets, standardize, standardize, standardize. For this era, command and control, separation between thinking and doing and steering from the top down was invented. Also budgeting, by the way. Do you know who invented budgeting? Who here in the room uses budgeting in his or her organization? Budgeting? All of you, right? No? Any of you does not have budgeting in his or her company? We all do it, okay? The inventor of budgeting, or the first book about budgeting, was written by James O. McKinsey. You can guess which is the management consulting firm that he founded. James O. McKinsey. 1918, first book about budgeting. It's perfect for this age, the blue age of mass production, industrial age. Now, as you see here, something happens. Historically, something happens. In the 1970s, things change again. In the 1970s, markets change dramatically. This is why the whole digital discussion bothers me a little. Nothing new except the internet and some digital and software stuff has happened in the last 10 or 20 years. The shift from blue industrial age mass markets to crowded, red, highly dynamic, highly surprising, highly complex markets of the post-industrial age, let's call it the knowledge age or the digital age or whatever you want to call it, this already happened in the 1970s. In the 1970s, management of social technology dies because the industrial age ends, complexity grows back into organizations. We still have blue problems to solve that we can automatize. We need IT for that. Yeah? For the blue stuff, we can automatize it away. We can algorithm it away into softwares and apps. This is neither good nor bad, by the way. Blue problems are highly important. We have to solve the blue problems. But the red problems, remember, cannot be solved with machines. What do we need to solve red problems? People with ideas. Or as they say in the United States, fucking people with ideas, I mean, we need fucking people, We need the people. We the people. I mean, this is back to people. People were important in the crafts manufacturing age, and they became important again in today's age. Now we are on the right, lots of red problems to solve. We need people with ideas. But what have we done? We are stuck in command and control. We are stuck in the command and control model. We still force people to not think, but to follow orders, to produce budgets, to make the numbers. We still steer in command and control from the top. We are hooked or addicted, as it was suggested earlier. We are addicted on an organizational model that was perfect for the industrial age, only that the industrial age ended 40 freaking years ago. Management of social technology is done. Not because I say so. It's a historical fact. Management of social technology is deceased. Not because I say so, but because the world has changed. It changed in the 1970s already. We didn't notice. We're still riding a dead horse of management of social technology. Don't believe in anything that I say, but we see that in the frictions in organizations. Our organizations are suffering from this conflict between, okay, we need to be complexity robust, we need to deal with dynamics, we need people with ideas, but we don't let them think. We don't let them be close to the customer. There's not even a customer in this org chart. You see, this is the kind of paradox that management of social technology creates for us, and we haven't come to solve it. One very popular, in the domain of the blue, processes are perfect. Blue problems can perfectly be solved with process. Okay. But in the red processes, you don't have the knowledge about the new stuff that you have to do tomorrow, innovation and stuff. So what do you know what do you need in complexity? Not processes, but What do we need to solve red problems? For red problems, new problems, we cannot have a process existing. We cannot repeat. We need projects. How about this? People with ideas, several working together. In the domain of the blue, we need processes. In the domain of the red, we need projects. Now, many of your companies probably have processes for projects. Do you see the perversion of that notion? The problem comes up when we try to solve red problems with blue method. Think about the future. It's a red problem. The future, red problem, right? And now think how you tackle the future in organizations with planning. But planning clearly, I hope you understand that, don't believe in this, but just because I say it, but planning is a blue method supposed to solve a red problem called the future. That is just bogus. It is nonsense. It is bullshit, as the Americans say. Yeah? Also, how do you kill a project with people who are capable, who have mastery, and who come up with ideas? How do you kill it in your organizations? What do you put on top to drive the thinking out of a project? What do you put on top? A manager called a project leader or project manager. And if that person may still have some capability or mastery. If you want to kill that, what do you put on top? To kill the whole project. A steering committee, Lenkungsausschuss, Steuerungskreis, circle, whatever you call it, committees and that shit. Yeah? It's blue steering bullshit in an environment, in a context, a red context, where it doesn't belong. So I love committees if it's a blue problem, but if a project is a real project, if it's about a red problem, never put a steering committee on top. If you are a CEO in an organization, you should outlaw steering committees or committees of any kind immediately. I mean, tomorrow or whenever immediately is. Yeah? Here's the thing. Organizations, we like to map them like these. We like to fool ourselves that organizational structure is this. Who's in charge, who is on the top, and we drive the organization from the top down. There is a secret to organizations that is every organization in the world, even not-for-profits or governmental organizations, they all have three structures. This structure, scientifically, is called formal structure, and it can only serve one single purpose: producing compliance, having a CEO nominated, having an audit committee nominated, making contracts, having bookkeeping and accounting, that kind of stuff. That is what formal structure provides. It has nothing to do with work. Nobody has ever worked, really worked, I mean, producing value in formal structure. It is impossible, because the bottom doesn't serve the top, and that's just a beautiful illusion of control that we create in command and control. Every organization has a second structure. How is this called? The first was formal structure. Now this must be informal structure, social. Every organization has a social structure. It is like the lubricant of every organization. Every organization has a social structure. Yeah? It's where the information travels really fast, where people have relationships, they like or hate each other. Informal structure, it's when you drink coffee. I like to say the larger the organization is, the more important it is that you smoke. It's very important for you. And do not just drink coffee, also drink tea. Because other people drink tea, and you connect differently. The best advice I can give as a management consultant. You have to smoke, drink coffee, drink tea, lots, where other people gather. That's informal structure, very important structure. The bosses, the CEO email to everyone, that's formal structure. And it's always too late, because people already know from informal chatter, from water cooler talk, that they already know what's going on, because informal structure is very efficient, very powerful. There is power in informal structure. It's called the power of relationship, or as we call it, really call it today, it's called influence. In the structure of the left, the power that you possess as C-level executives or CEOs, you have hierarchy, that's your power. But there is a power here that is called influence. Now, the sad news is you cannot do the work neither in the first structure, formal, or the informal structure. You cannot work there. It's impossible. Work is always done, and this is what systems theory teaches us. Work, or value creation, does not follow a pyramid logic, and it has nothing to do with smoking and drinking. It has to do with value creation flowing from the inside out. Imagine organizations, this is the most important structure, by the way. Hardly any organization in the world really understands its value creation structure, as we call it. Every organization in the world has an outer boundary, you see it here, and inside it's like a peach. It has center and periphery. The center serves the periphery so that the periphery can serve the market. Don't believe in anything that I say, but this is true. Yeah? Value creation always flows from the inside out. The problem, no, another fun fact. Do you see that teams here? We have teams in little cells. We call them cells. Yeah? Teams are small things. There is no team here. There is no team in formal structure. In formal structure, you have groups. You have functional division. You have non-thinking people at the bottom being driven by the top. In value creation structure, on the right, you have people forming teams in the periphery, serving the market, and the center has to serve the periphery. Very simple, right? The fun fact is that these structures, two of these structures, are fighting an epic battle. It's like Game of Thrones. And that is formal structure is fighting value creation structure. I would argue that most of the organizations might be struggling with this. We try to drive the work through steering, command and control, drive the non-thinkers through processes. And in fact, every organization can only create value. This is the only place where value can be created, is value creation structure. But we do not even know what teams are like because we divided the organizations between, for example, any of your organizations has a sales department or team or area, sales? Do you have it in your organization? Then please hold your hand up. If you have sales, see this shit? You know, sorry. The problem is that sales is just a beautiful illusion from the industrial age. It's just a zombie idea from the industrial age. Divide the sales function out of the organization, separate it, and then everything will work. No, it won't. If you are a bank, and if you have, there are some bankers here, I know. If you have a bank and you have a separate risk function, that is doom, of course. We separated everything out of organizations. So, like quality in production, for example. We took quality out, so nobody is really responsible for quality in an org chart. But in fact, all teams in the periphery really must take care of quality, otherwise you will never have value. So these two structures here, the value creation structure and formal structure, are fighting an epic battle. And so far, value creation structure loses, the structure on the right. We call organizations that understand the value creation structure, and where this structure is dominant, we call them beta. And we call organizations with command and control alpha. Now I will ask you a Buzzmaster question. Please just vote. This is about self-identification. What do you think your company is like? Please, I really invite you to all answer this question. This is just self-diagnosis. We want to see little statistics about this. Is your organization more leaning towards the alpha side or towards the beta side? What is your organization more like? There might be an epic battle, and even the worst alpha organization has a little bit of value creation, secretly. Is your organization leaning more towards alpha or beta? You can just answer alpha or beta in this case. Can we see the results, please? Is your organization more on the alpha or beta side? The results, let's see. They are here, but not on my monitor. That's good. Okay, yes, I would have been surprised if there had been more beta organizations. The beta organizations are very rare in this world. They are few. Think about a top organization that rose to international fame in the 1970s or 80s. Everybody talked about them. The Japanese phenomenon. Some of us are old enough to remember that time when everybody went to visit Toyota. Toyota is one of the few organizations that is, in this language of the Peach, the beta organization, radically decentralized. Toyota really took it solved the feat of reuniting the thinking and the doing. And how did they do that? How did they achieve that? And I want to do a little bit of study here with you very quickly. Do you know this concept, theory X and theory Y? Douglas McGregor, motivational scientist from the 1960s, that he wrote this book about theory X, theory Y. The book is called The Human Side of Enterprise. Douglas McGregor outlined that we don't have one image of human nature in our heads, we have two images of human nature in our heads. The first image of human nature that we carry around with us, McGregor coined it theory X. And it basically assumes that people dislike work, have to be forced or bribed to make an effort. We have to give them orientation from the outside. We have to force them into these X's, these X people. We have to force them into responsibility. We have to steer, bribe, and making them afraid. Theory X, it's neither good nor bad. It's just an assumption about human beings that we know, right? People have little creativity, theory X assumes, except when it comes to circumnavigating management rules. Yeah? You get that? Have you ever thought this about people? Okay. McGregor says, okay, we know this mindset. There's a second mindset about people, theory Y. That assumes that people need the work to feed themselves and their loved ones. But people, these Y people, they also want to take an interest in the work. And if they can connect their interest in the work with the work, they can, in radical circumstances, if the conditions are right, experience joy and fun and self-effectuation or self-growth. Yeah? So the theory Y person is intrinsically motivated. That is what theory Y assumes. The theory X person must be extrinsically motivated. The theory Y person is intrinsically motivated to create the right conditions. Leadership here means creating the right conditions. People will then self-direct, take responsibility if the conditions are right. Understood? Next Buzzmaster question. Please do this. This is very simple. Very simple. Ask yourself, about yourself, are you an X person or a Y question? Please identify yourself. It's super simple, right? On Buzzmaster, are you an X person or a Y person? You know? Theory X must be extrinsically motivated, theory Y person. Any guesses what the results will be like of this little question? Now it gets more difficult. This was easy, right? We will not show the results. Second question. What is the percentage of X people in your organization? You know, X people are these on the left, right? These who must be extrinsically motivated. What is the percentage of X people in your organization? As this is a percentage of an amount of people in your company, independent of scale of your organization. You will have to answer with a percentage. There's like a little switch that you have to pull over to the right or to the left, you know, to indicate the percentage. What is the percentage of X people in your organization? Did that? Let's see the results of this question, please. What is the percentage of X people in your organizations? 37, 38, okay, good. And can we see the results of the first question? Are you an X person or a Y person? Oh, 93%. Okay, this is a problem. This is a problem because, fun fact, Douglas McGregor, 58 years ago, he said, X people, there's a problem with them. X people have never existed, do not exist, will never exist. X people do not exist. So I'm not sure what happened to the 7%. Maybe I explained the whole thing wrong, but you cannot exist, guys. You cannot be X people. Everyone, that was Douglas McGregor's big insight. Everyone is a Y person. McGregor said the following. In organizations in the industrial age, that's literally what he wrote. In organizations in the industrial age, we imagine that people are X people, like the thingy here. I have to come to the end. We imagine people like theory X people, and then we build prisons to tackle them. We create organizational prisons for X people, but those X people do not exist. It's just that totally capable Y people start behaving like stupid X's. Your organizations are infested with method to control X's in spite of you not having any X's. It cannot be. I mean, don't believe in anything what I say or what McGregor says. Your organization does not have X people because they do not exist. Why do you observe so much X-y behavior in your organizations? Because you produce this, and these are the artifacts. I call these X tools. They are evil methods, evil tools from the era of command and control bullshit that still exist and infest our organizations. All this must be exorcised. The problem is our theory X prejudice forces us to create evil organizations based on this stuff. I lived in America for too long. You see, I'm swearing all the time. All these are evil practices, bad ideas from the industrial age. We must abolish and eliminate them. Some organizations have done this more or less well. Some organizations, don't look at these organizations. They do not matter. The problem is that the list is so short. There are so few beta organizations, decentralized organizations, that apply a mindset. We talked about good behavior, bad behavior. The good behavior is clearly more on the beta side here. The beta systems are systems not just capable of dealing with complexity, but also with human beings as they are. Command and control organizations to the left cannot deal appropriately with complexity because they force people in switching their brains off. We do command and control steering against all complexity. The model on the right is better, not because I say so, it is better for human beings and better in a world of red markets. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for the extra time as well.
Thank you.
You were hovering there. That was very scary when you started hovering.
So I didn't believe anything you said.
Very good, very good. So we can build trust.
But even for a Dutchman, that sounds pretty rude, right? Just to say something that you didn't believe anything. So, but you said something interesting about your watch.
Yes.
So you have a watch. It's sometimes the system is broken.
Yes.
But then the problem with the broken watch is that it says the right time twice a day. So
yes,
so
that's what happens with budgets and strategic plans.
So
and all.
exactly, is that the reason why we still use these old tools, these industrial age tools, and keep on using them? Is that the reason? Because sometimes they're actually right?
Yes, I think it's like the weather forecast. We fool ourselves into believing that the weather forecast is getting better or that it is precise. It is not. It is mere coincidence when the weather forecast is right. It's a mere coincidence when you meet the target. Or, even worse, people fiddled the system or meddled with the system to make the numbers.
And
so
even the weather is even getting better, I think.
The weather is getting better.
Yeah,
Yes, okay,
yeah.
in a way, and yes, worse in other ways. So, but really, we are, as I think top managers, the danger to people like here in the room is that, of course, you suffer from an observation bias, and you like to believe that you can control or steer, or I'm sure maybe some in the room may fool themselves into believing that they can steer or control the organization, which you are not. Not because I say so, but because complexity. Markets have taken over control 40 years ago. We have outsourced the steering to markets in the 1970s.
But then how do we prevent trying to repair the old, but how do we take the courage to install the new? How do you do that in existing organizations?
Yes, I try to give a hint to that. I mean, the topic of this
One more hint.
Is in code we trust.
Yeah.
Of course, we shouldn't trust code. We should confide in human beings. And what Douglas McGregor, with the distinction between X thinking and Y thinking, what he hinted at is, we can never build decent, complexity robust, human nature fit organizations if we do not confide in people's Y-ness, theory Y, human condition.
So you have to trust people.
The real barrier to organizational transformation, to good organizations, is to first confide in people. First, you must believe that 100% of your people are theory Y people. Otherwise, you will never get rid of command and control.
Okay. Niels, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.